Hi guys, it's Clarice, and in today's video we are going to be doing simplistic Christmas trees or holiday trees, but with a twist. We're going to make them these nice bright eclectic colors. So just to start off with the supplies, I am using my Etchr watercolor paper, or postcards rather. They're quite handy. You can just paint on them and then put them in the mail off to a friend or a family member. We are going to be using some metallics, specifically speaking the diamond, which is like this really nice silver, which is by KMS Watercolor. And then I'm going to be using some of this leftover watercolor that I have on my palette. I have turquoise, some of the blue, and some of the carmine mixed in with violet and orange, and some other versions of, this is ruby right there. So these are typically the colors I'm going to be using, and for brushes I am going to be using my Escoda number 2 and then the ZenART supplies number 10. Alright, so I really zoomed on into my sheet here so you can have a better idea of how things are flowing and going. I'm going to start off by using the number 8, and we're going to get a very light shade of this green that I have here, and you'll see we're going to start off by dampening the sheet of paper and just creating a very loose effect of the tree. And so I just want to make sure I have enough color. Maybe take a little bit of that blue, some of the turquoise in there, mix it up, and I'm just looking for a light color to dampen the sheet so I can see where the rest of the color is going to go. Alright, so now that I have that, we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to start off by doing a straight line here and then just adding little jaggedy lines off to the side, and I'm just drawing the color in. And so we want this tree to be triangular in shape, and so notice that I am going wider as I kind of enhance and add more leaves. And I'm literally just drawing in these lines, leaving in some white space, allowing the color to kind of just flow. And by white space I mean areas that are dry. And we don't want the water to be pooling too much, so as I am going downward, I'm pulling down most of the water. And I'm keeping my jaggedy strokes in, or being consistent with that rather. And so now that we've reached this part, I'm going to get some of my turquoise, which is right here, and I'm going to start from the top all over again and allow this color to kind of just blend in. And then I'm just going to add some in these areas here too. Just kind of allow it to blend in and go in these different areas that you've painted with water already. You've sort of created this water pattern. And then finally, now that we've reached this part at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and get some of my blue and then continue doing the same pattern of painting. And I want the blue to kind of seep in and so you can see I'm adding the blue mainly as a shadowy effect at the bottom, for the bottom of this tree. So getting more of that blue on my brush. I'm just going to add some stabs of it here and there into the tree, maybe some dotted effects onto the side, maybe a little bit at the top, just to give it a little bit of highlight. But we're getting a really pretty blend right now, and I want to try and saturate the bottom with this blue so that it looks like it's starting from the bottom and going off into this turquoise look. So I'm just taking more color on the tip of my brush and dabbing away at the bottom of this area here. And now that I have it nicely done, just going to get a little bit more and just add a couple of more strokes here and there, make it a little more loosey kind of to the edge here. Adding a couple of dots, that's how I'm adding that loose effect. Now I'm going to go ahead and get some other color. So I'm washing off my brush, and now we're going to get this pretty purple that I have. And so I'm going to get a little bit of the purple, and I'm going to start off by creating this little oval shape here, and I'm touching a little bit of the blue, then dipping the tip of my brush in water. I'm going to slowly draw down the color. And then I'm getting more like a darker purple from my palette, and I'm just going to do one swap on this side here, and then give the bottom a swoop. Notice the white space between the pot and the tree. Now that I have that, I'm going to get some more of that pink that I have in there, and I'm just going to dab it into this area here. Maybe even wash off the brush if you need to, just so that the pink will appear more. But the idea is to have that nice pretty tone, purple and pink. There we go. And then I'm just going to get more of the purple and just kind of really dab in this area so I can get a nice blend of purple, dark purple here happening. And if some of it is kind of going into the tree, that's a really pretty effect. Do not lose it, allow that to happen. And then I'm just going to do a lighter kind of line just below this. And then from here we can kind of extend and make a little bit of a shadow. Now for the shadow you want, I think, typically more of a brown or like a darker hue of some sort. So I've got some color mixed up here, so I'm just getting a little bit of this grayish green at the bottom and just kind of running my brush back and forth across here. Lighter on the right, darker on the left, and just dabbing more of the darker hue closer to the pot. And then if some of the purple is running into it, that might be pretty. Allow that to happen. And then you want it to fade off at the bottom. You don't want it to be too intense. So I went ahead and painted two more using a combination of the colors that I had on here. So you can see there's pink, there's blue, there's turquoise, there's orange, and I've kind of just flipped them here and there, if you can see. All right, so the next thing we're going to be doing is taking some of our metallics, and I'm using my number 2 for that, and I'm going to use this beautiful diamond silver. So I'm making sure that it's properly activated on my brush, and we need to make sure that everything is nicely dried on here before we go on and add little stars. And for that, I'm literally just creating very simplistic looking stars here and there, and especially in the areas where it is dried up so that it really stands out, the nice glitter. And I'm not doing baubles, and that is mainly because I want to do a splatter right after this. And the splatter is going to be more circular, and so it's kind of pointless to do little baubles that way if everything is going to be circular. So I figured let's just make some of them little stars. And I'm not quite sure if you can see it very clearly, but yep, they are there. So I'm going to go ahead and make this a time lapse as well, and then you guys can see it better at the end. All right, so I've finished doing my little metallic stars, and right before we move on to doing our splatter, I want to add a little bit more of a shadow under these, darker shadow under these pots here. So I'm going to mix in a little bit of the red with my blue onto the side here to get this darker purpler kind of hue that I will then use as my shadow. So you just gotta kind of mix and see what color suits your purpose. And so this is good enough for me, and I'm just reactivating the paper and just adding my shadow. So now I'm not looking to get exactly the same color for all of them, just because this is a very eclectic piece of art, and it's supposed to be simple and easy and fun, and so colorful as well, first and foremost, more than anything else. It needs to be colorful. So I am mixing in different variations of that ruby red along with the blue, and getting just like a darker shade here that I can add to the bottom. So we've got our last one right here. And we're done. There we go. So this is the shadow. I'm liking how these shadows are looking. Maybe even just smooth out this one a bit. So you've got different layers of color happening here, which enriches the image even more. All right, so now we are ready to do our splatter. For our splatter, I've decided I'm going to take some of the Silhouette glitter from KMS Watercolor Metallics, and I'm going to mix that in with the blue. And this is just experimental. I want to see if I can get some sort of metallic shine in the splatter once it dries up. All right, so I'm using my number 8. I'm getting a good enough amount of color. And then I'm going to go ahead and take another brush and just maybe even get a little bit more water so I can get bigger splatters. I'm trying to kind of focus it mainly in the white area, maybe at the bottom, in between, kind of like around around the trees, getting some water in there. So now we've got a variation of color for this black. And there we go, we've got this nice full, I'm trying to get some larger splatter in there as well. There we go. And that's that. So this is the end result. I'm going to allow this to dry a bit. And let me just make this clear so you guys can see exactly what this looks like. There we go. This is what the end result looks like. We've got a pretty fun little painting.